The silence in the house was different tonight. Not the usual quiet after Amelia went to bed early, or when she was out with her friends. This was a heavy, suffocating kind of quiet. The kind that vibrates in your chest and makes the air thick. I was standing in the kitchen just staring at the sink, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead, making everything feel too bright, too stark. My coffee, cold now, sat forgotten on the counter. It was almost midnight, but it felt like 3 a.m. That witching hour where every shadow looks like a monster, and every creak of the house sounds like a warning. I was 34. She was 33. We'd been married for 7 years, together for 12. A long time, long enough to know the rhythm of each other's breath and sleep. The way she hummed when she was happy. The little sigh I made before getting up in the morning. All those tiny, insignificant things that become the bedrock of a life. And now it all felt like a house built on sand, crumbling, and I was just standing there watching it go. The feeling in my stomach was less a knot and more a hollow space, like someone had scooped out my insides and left me with nothing but cold air. Her wedding ring. It was by the kitchen sink, nestled next to the soap dispenser. Just sitting there. Not on her finger, not on her bedside table, where she sometimes left it if she was baking or working with her hands. It was there, deliberately, unmistakably, like it had been placed as a signal. Mine, the one that matched, felt heavy on my finger, a cold, solid band. I'd taken it off an hour ago, then put it back on, then took it off again and left it on the armrest of the couch in the living room, trying to make sense of the symmetry, the terrible, echoing statement it felt like. 2 rings just sitting there. It had been building, I guess, the little arguments becoming less little, more frequent, the way she'd started leaving for work earlier, coming home later, the phone always face down, always in her hand, always a little too close, a little too guarded. My brain kept trying to backtrack, to find the exact moment, the exact day it shifted from just us having a rough patch to, oh God, this is really happening. Was it last month when she skipped my sister's birthday dinner, citing a sudden work deadline? Or maybe 2 months ago when she stopped asking me about my day, just a cursory, how was work, before diving into her own thoughts, her own phone. I walked into the living room, the wood floors creaking under my feet, like they were protesting the silence too. The couch was still rumpled where I'd been sitting for hours, just thinking, just existing. My ring was there, glinting dully in the dim light from the kitchen. 2 rings, one by the sink, one on the couch. Separated but still in the same house. That's how it felt exactly. We were still in the same house, theoretically together, but the distance between us had somehow become vast, an unbridgeable canyon. And I was staring into it, heart pounding, a cold dread twisting in my gut. This wasn't just a fight we'd get over or a bad week. This was something else, something final, something that felt like the end of everything I thought I knew. The air felt thin, like I couldn't get enough oxygen. I just kept thinking over and over, what now? What in the hell do I do now? It's funny how your mind works, isn't it? When everything's falling apart, you find yourself drifting back to the beginning, to the shiny, hopeful starting line, trying to pinpoint where you took the wrong turn. I guess I met Amelia when I was 22, so that was, 2012? I was in my senior year at U of O studying computer science, and she was a year behind me, studying marketing. We actually met at a terrible campus diversity and tech mixer in the old Bell Tower building. I was there because it was a requirement for a project. She was there because she genuinely loved the networking aspect, even back then. She came up to me, saw I was looking pretty lost, hovering by the punch bowl, and just started talking. She had this laugh, even then, this bright, full-throated thing that just pulled you in. We talked for maybe an hour, mostly about how terrible the appetizers were and how everyone was just pretending to care about the tech pitches. I remember her saying something about how most innovation is just a better way to sell something. And I, being the earnest tech guy, argued with her for a solid 15 minutes about the purity of invention. She just smiled, that big, dazzling smile. And by the end of the night, I had her number. It felt like I'd won something, like I'd genuinely connected with someone on a level I hadn't really experienced before. We dated through my last year, then hers. It was easy, you know. We had our routines. Tuesdays were cheap sushi night at this little place on Hawthorne Street. Fridays were for movies, usually at my apartment. Weekends were for exploring the city, hiking in Forest Park, or just lying around in bed talking for hours. She was so vibrant, so full of energy and ideas. She wanted to travel, to make an impact, to build something big. And I just loved being around that energy. It felt like she pulled me out of my shell, made me see the world in brighter colors. I was always the more reserved one, happy with my code and my quiet hobbies. She was the one who pushed for spontaneity, for trying new things. I thought we balanced each other perfectly. We moved in together after she graduated, into a small 2-bedroom apartment near downtown. She got a job pretty quickly at a digital marketing agency, and I was already working full-time as a junior developer. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. We adopted Penny, a scruffy little terrier mix, a year later. She was Amelia's idea, of course, but I fell for that dog immediately. Our mornings became about Penny's walk, my making coffee while Amelia got ready, her telling me about her client ideas over breakfast. Evenings were cooking together, or me cooking while she scrolled on her phone, brainstorming, as she called it, then a show, and a quick walk for Penny before bed. It was good. It was what I wanted. Looking back, there were things, little things, that I just didn't see as red flags. Or maybe I saw them and just rationalized them away. Amelia was always incredibly driven, almost obsessively so, with her work. She'd be on her phone constantly, even during dinner or when we were out. If I ever mentioned it, she'd laugh it off. "Oh, you know me, Owen. Always gotta be connected. The digital world never sleeps." I thought it was just her passion, her ambition. I admired it even. She was also fiercely independent, which I initially respected. She always insisted on managing her own finances, keeping separate accounts for most things beyond shared bills. I saw it as her being strong, not wanting to rely on anyone. And she'd sometimes just disappear into her own head or make plans without telling me until the last minute, like a sudden work trip or a weekend getaway with a friend I didn't know well. I'd get a pang of unease, but then she'd come back, full of stories, and be so affectionate that I'd dismiss my worry as my own insecurity. There was this one time, maybe 4 years ago. My grandfather, he wasn't doing well, and he'd specifically asked if we could visit him that weekend in Bend. I told Amelia weeks in advance, but 2 days before, she got a critical client pitch that absolutely, positively required her to work through the weekend, all day Saturday and Sunday. She was genuinely apologetic, or seemed to be, hugging me tight, telling me to give Pop her love. I went alone, and it was hard. I remember feeling a loneliness I hadn't expected. But when I got back, she had flowers waiting and cooked my favorite meal, and for weeks, she was just extra attentive, making up for it. So I let it go. I told myself it was just work, that these things happened. I loved her, and she loved me. That was enough to explain away anything, wasn't it? I truly believed it was. That feeling of things being enough to explain away anything started to chip away slowly, insidiously, over the last year or so. It wasn't a sudden break, more like a slow leak in a tire. You just keep noticing the pressure drop bit by bit until one day it's completely flat. The little things I'd dismissed before started to feel heavier. The phone was still always present, but now it was often muted, or she'd take it with her to the bathroom, which she never used to do. When I'd ask who she was texting, she'd just wave it off. Just work stuff, you know? Clients are always demanding, and I try to believe it because what else was there? Like the first really significant incident, the one that made me pause and really feel the unease, was about 6 months ago. It was our anniversary, the 7th. I'd planned a whole weekend, booked a nice Airbnb out in the gorge, just the two of us, a quiet little cabin with a hot tub and a fireplace. I'd even arranged for Penny to stay with my sister Chloe. I was excited, genuinely looking forward to reconnecting. The day before we were supposed to leave, she came home, dropped her bag, and just stood there looking at me. Owen, I'm so sorry. I can't go this weekend. My heart just sank. What? Why not? We've had this planned for months, Amelia. She sighed, rubbed her temples. I know. It's this massive pitch for the new software company. We landed it like yesterday. Everyone's pulling all-nighters. My boss, Greg, he's really depending on me for the creative lead. It's huge for my career, you know? I just stood there, staring at her, feeling this weird mix of disappointment and resentment. So, your career is more important than our anniversary? Than us? It sounded childish, even to me, but I couldn't help it. The words just came out. She bristled. That's not fair, Owen. You know how important my work is. This isn't a choice, it's a responsibility. Greg said if we nail this, there's a promotion on the table. She looked genuinely stressed, tired. And a part of me, the part that loved her, that wanted her to succeed, felt guilty for my reaction. I folded. I always did. Okay, I said, trying to sound understanding. Okay, I get it. Just, it sucks. A lot. I know, she said, coming over and giving me a quick, almost distracted hug. I promise we'll make it up. Next month. A really special trip. Just you wait. She never brought it up again. I never pushed it. The Airbnb was non-refundable. That incident left a bruise, a real one. I started paying more attention. Her work hours grew longer. Her energy, which used to be all directed at our life together when she was home, now felt dissipated. Like there was only so much to go around and I was getting the leftovers. Our conversations felt shallower. She'd ask about my day, but her eyes would be elsewhere. Or she'd pick up her phone mid-sentence. I brought it up to my friend Daniel over a beer one night. We'd been friends since college, through thick and thin. He's always been good for a dose of unfiltered truth. Man, I don't know, I started, swirling my beer. Amelia's just different lately. Distant. Daniel looked at me, his brow furrowed. Distant? How? Like fighting or just checked out? Checked out, mostly. Always working, always on her phone. Like, we barely talk. Not really. And she skipped our anniversary. For work. He took a slow sip. Owen, you know I love Amelia. She's great. But she's always been a bit intense with work and a little private. You sure it's not just her being her? I don't know, Daniel. It feels different. Like I'm losing her, piece by piece. I felt pathetic, even saying it out loud. Have you talked to her about it directly? Like, not accusatory, just, hey, I miss you, kind of talk? I've tried, I admitted. It usually ends with her getting defensive, saying I don't understand her ambition, or that I'm being needy. He just nodded, probably not knowing what to say. I left that night feeling even worse. Like my own friend couldn't really grasp the slow erosion I was feeling. The second big incident happened around 2 months ago. It was a Saturday. I'd made pancakes, her favorite. We were sitting at the kitchen table. Penny curled up under my feet. She was on her phone, as usual. I tried to make conversation. So, I was thinking, maybe we could finally try that new Italian place tonight? The one by the river? She barely looked up. Oh, I already have plans. I froze. You have plans? With who? Just with Kelsey from work. We're going to that new art installation opening downtown. Kelsey was a colleague I'd met once or twice. Nice enough, but I didn't think they were particularly close. And you didn't tell me? My voice was tight. She finally looked up. A flicker of something in her eyes, maybe annoyance, maybe guilt. Oh, did I not? I thought I mentioned it. It was last minute. She just asked me yesterday. I figured you'd probably just want to chill anyway, you know how you are on weekends. How I am, I repeated, a lump forming in my throat. I'm your husband, Amelia. We have plans, usually, or we make them together. It felt like a deliberate exclusion. Owen, don't make a big deal out of this, she said, her voice sharp, a clear warning. It's just a friend thing. I'm allowed to have a life outside of you, you know. I felt a coldness spread through me. It wasn't just the plans, it was the casual dismissiveness, the way she made me feel like I was the problem for expecting partnership. I didn't say anything else, I just finished my pancakes in silence, the syrup suddenly tasting like ash. Then there was the trip to Bend for my pop-pop. This was only last month. He'd had a bad fall. I booked a flight immediately. I asked Amelia if she could come, even for just a day. I really need you there, Ames, I remember saying, my voice raw with worry. Oh, and I can't. This new project, it's insane. Greg needs me here. He just gave me this huge responsibility. Her voice was apologetic, but I heard the firmness underneath. The no was absolute. Right, I said, a bitter taste in my mouth. Always work. Don't do that, Owen, she snapped back. Don't make me feel bad for working hard. This is my life, too. I went to Bend alone again. My pop-pop passed away 2 days later. Amelia sent flowers to the funeral. She called me, of course, offered condolences, but she wasn't there. My family, especially my mom and Chloe, they noticed. Chloe pulled me aside at the wake. Owen, is everything okay with you and Amelia? She seems very busy lately. I just shrugged, muttered something about her big promotion. I was too numb to really talk about it. When I got back, the house felt empty. Not just because Pop-Pop was gone, but because Amelia felt gone too, even when she was physically there. She was home, but she wasn't with me. She'd kiss me hello, ask about my day, but her attention would quickly drift. The phone was a constant barrier. I tried to talk to her again, really tried. It was a Tuesday night. We were eating dinner, takeout, because we hadn't cooked together in ages. Amelia, I started, we need to talk. Seriously, I feel like we're drifting apart. She sighed, put her fork down. Owen, what is it? Are we doing this again? I'm exhausted. Work has been crazy. It's not just work. It's us. We never spend time together anymore, not real time. I feel like I don't know what's going on in your life and you don't seem to care about mine. She looked at me, her eyes tired but also hard. Owen, I'm building a career here, a future for us. Don't you think that's important? I'm working my ass off. I can't be emotionally available 24/7. And you just want to stay in your comfort zone. You don't get it. You don't get what it takes. That stung. Comfort zone? Amelia, I just want my wife back. The one who actually wanted to spend time with me, who talked to me. Maybe you should just get a hobby, Owen, she said, her voice flat, almost cold. Find something to occupy yourself. The conversation died there, leaving a bitter taste in my mouth, worse than any argument. It felt like she was actively pushing me away, telling me I was the problem for wanting to connect. I started to wonder if she even wanted to be connected anymore. And that's when the really dark thoughts started creeping in, the ones I couldn't push away with rationalizations or promises of future trips, the ones that whispered, she doesn't want you, not like this. That's when the silence in the house started to feel heavy. That's when I saw her ring by the sink. I'd barely slept since I saw her ring by the sink, mine on the couch. Every hour of the night, I'd been up, pacing, trying to convince myself it was just a strange coincidence. Maybe she forgot it. Maybe she took it off because her fingers swelled. Maybe. But the raw, gnawing feeling in my stomach kept telling me no. This was different. This was a message. She usually left for work around 7:15 a.m. That morning, I made coffee, but didn't bother with breakfast. Just sat at the kitchen island, staring at the muted glow of my phone, not really seeing anything. Penny nudged my hand, wanting her usual morning pet, but I just wasn't there. When Amelia came into the kitchen, dressed for work in a crisp blouse and tailored pants, she seemed normal. Too normal. Like nothing was wrong. It just made the silence between us scream even louder. "Morning," she said, her voice a little too bright. She walked past the sink, past her ring without even a glance. She grabbed her travel mug, poured coffee. She didn't look at me directly. She always used to kiss me goodbye, even if it was just a quick peck. That morning, she didn't. She just turned, bag on her shoulder, and headed for the door. "Amelia?" I said, my voice coming out, raspy, almost a whisper. She stopped, her hand on the doorknob. "Yeah?" she asked, not turning around fully. "Your ring," I said, my voice gaining a little strength, though it still felt like it was ripping out of my throat. "It's by the sink." She paused. Then, very slowly, she turned around. Her eyes, usually so expressive, were blank. She looked at the sink, then at the ring, then back at me. There was no surprise, no, "Oh, I forgot that." Just recognition. And something else, something I couldn't quite decipher. Defiance, maybe. "Yeah," she said, her voice flat. "I know." And that was it, just I know. No explanation, no apology, nothing. My breath hitched. The air felt like ice. My brain was screaming, "Ask her! Make her tell you!" But my mouth wouldn't work. The silence stretched, thick and painful, filled only by the distant hum of traffic outside and the frantic beat of my own heart. "Why?" I finally managed, the word barely audible. She shifted her weight, looked away, out the window for a moment. The morning light was just starting to filter through the blinds, casting long, dusty streaks across the kitchen floor. Penny whined softly from under the island, sensing the tension. "Owen," she started, then stopped, swallowed. "Owen, I can't do this anymore. Not like this. Not us." My blood went cold. This was it. The confirmation. The actual words. It was like getting punched in the gut repeatedly. My vision blurred for a second. My knees felt weak. I gripped the edge of the counter, the cool granite digging into my palms. "What do you mean, us?" I asked, my voice barely a thread. "What are you talking about?" I was grasping, desperately, for any other meaning, any other interpretation than the one that was screaming in my head. She finally met my gaze, and this time, her eyes held a weariness I hadn't seen before, a kind of defeat. "I mean, this marriage, this life, it's not working for me, Owen. It hasn't been for a while." "Not working?" I practically choked on the words. "Amelia, we've been together for 12 years. Married for 7. We have a life. What are you talking about? Not working?" "I'm just not happy," she said, her voice quiet now, almost resigned. "I haven't been happy in a long time. I feel trapped, like I'm not growing, like I'm not myself." "Trapped? You think I've trapped you?" My voice rose, cracking. The unfairness of it, the sheer audacity, it made my head spin. All those times I'd bent. All those times I'd let things go. All those times I'd tried to understand her ambition. "It's not you, Owen," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "It's just me. I need more. I need something else. My mind raced, trying to put the pieces together. The long hours, the phone, the anniversary, Pop-Pop's funeral, the friend plans. It all coalesced into one terrifying, undeniable conclusion. Is there someone else, Amelia? The words were so hard to say. They tasted like ash. She flinched. Her eyes darted away just for a split second, but it was enough. The micro-expression, the flicker of guilt, it was all I needed. It hit me like a physical blow. The air rushed out of my lungs. I felt dizzy. Owen, it's complicated, she started, wringing her hands. Complicated? I barked, a raw, primal sound escaping my throat. Is there someone else, yes or no? I gripped the counter harder, my knuckles white. She took a deep breath, met my eyes again. Yes, she whispered. The sound was so small, but it ripped through me like a chainsaw. My chest seized. It was like every cell in my body just stopped functioning. My head started to buzz, a high-pitched whine. I felt a cold sweat break out on my forehead. I couldn't breathe. All those ignored red flags, all those rationalizations, all those times I just wanted to believe her, they all came crashing down around me. My whole world, the one I'd built so carefully, so lovingly, just shattered. Who? I asked, though I didn't even know if I wanted to know. The word was barely a breath. She wouldn't look at me. It's Greg. Greg. Her boss. The one who needed her for critical pitches. The one whose promotion was on the table. The one she missed our anniversary for. My mind supplied the missing details with sickening clarity. All those late nights. All those work trips. It made perfect, horrible sense. A laugh escaped me. A short, bitter, humorless sound. It was the laugh of a man whose entire reality had just been revealed as a lie. Greg, I repeated, tasting the name, finding it repulsive. You're sleeping with your boss. She didn't respond, just stood there, shoulders slumped, looking utterly miserable. Not for me, I realized with another jolt of pain, but for herself, for having to deliver the message. I took a shaky breath. Get out, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, despite the earthquake happening inside me. Just get out. She looked up, a flicker of something in her eyes again. Maybe surprise, maybe relief. She grabbed her bag, her coffee, and without another word, she was gone. The front door clicked shut with an almost inaudible finality. I stood there for a long time, listening to the silence. The gentle ticking of the kitchen clock. Penny's soft breathing from under the island. The fluorescent light still buzzed. Her ring still sat by the sink. Mine was still on the couch, but the space between them now felt like the entire universe. My chest ached. A physical, searing pain. I felt completely, utterly hollowed out. I couldn't move. I just stood there, staring at the empty space where she'd been. My world reduced to a pile of rubble. The first thing I did, after what felt like an eternity, was walk slowly, numbly, to the living room and pick up my ring. I dropped it on the kitchen counter right next to hers, 2 rings side by side. Silent, damning witnesses. The immediate aftermath was a blur, a chaotic mess of adrenaline and despair. After Amelia left, I stood there for what felt like hours, just staring at the 2 rings, side by side, mocking me. Eventually, Penny, bless her heart, nudged my hand again, and that small, warm contact was enough to pull me back just a little. She needed to go out. That forced me to move, to put one foot in front of the other. The practicalities hit me like a train almost immediately. Housing, for starters. We owned the house, bought it 5 years ago. It was our biggest asset, our home. Amelia had always handled the mortgage payments, transferred her half, while I paid for utilities and shared expenses. Now, that whole system was broken. I had no idea what her financial situation really looked like, beyond knowing she made good money. Our finances were always separate, which I'd now realized wasn't a sign of independence, but a deliberate shield. I called Daniel first. I couldn't even form coherent sentences, just a choked up mess. He rushed over, leaving work. Thank God for him. He just sat with me on the couch, not saying much, just letting me talk and cry and rage. Penny somehow knew, curling up between us, offering silent comfort. When I finally calmed down enough to explain everything, Daniel just listened, his face grim. "Owen," he said gently, "I'm so sorry, man. This is fucked up." My sister Chloe was next. She was furious, absolutely incandescent with rage. "I knew it!" she practically yelled over the phone. "I knew something was off. The way she acted at Pop's funeral, the way she blew off your anniversary. She's a snake, Owen. A total snake." Her anger was a strange comfort, a confirmation that I wasn't just being crazy. My mom, when I finally called her, was heartbroken but pragmatic. "Owen, honey, you need to talk to a lawyer. Immediately. Protect yourself." And that's what I did. I called an attorney Daniel recommended. The first consultation was brutal, listing out assets, debts, discussing a division of property. I felt like a stranger talking about my own life. Amelia still hadn't called, hadn't texted, nothing. The silence from her was almost as loud as the words she'd spoken that morning. Work was impossible. I called in sick for 3 days straight, then went in on autopilot. My colleagues noticed, of course. I'm usually pretty upbeat, but I was a ghost. My boss, Mr. Henderson, pulled me into his office. "Owen, everything all right? You seem distracted." I mumbled something vague about personal issues. I couldn't bring myself to tell him the whole humiliating truth. The emotional roller coaster was dizzying. 1 minute I was engulfed in a wave of crushing sadness, remembering a happy memory like our wedding day, or the day we adopted Penny. The next, a cold, burning anger would consume me, thinking of Greg, of Amelia's betrayal. Then a wave of relief, fleeting but real, that the constant tension was finally broken, even if it shattered me in the process. Then fear, pure, unadulterated fear, about the future, about being alone, about money, about everything. Recovery attempts felt clumsy, almost comical. I tried to focus on my coding, but my mind just wouldn't settle. I started going for long, aimless walks with Penny, sometimes for hours, just trying to clear my head. Daniel came over a few times a week, just to hang out, watch a game, force me to eat. Chloe cooked meals and dropped them off. Their support was a lifeline. Then came the really gut-wrenching discovery. A week after she left, I finally made myself go through the shared paperwork, the bills, looking for anything I needed for the lawyer. And I found it. A credit card statement, hidden deep in a box of old tax documents. Not something I usually looked at. It was in Amelia's name, linked to an account I didn't recognize. The charges, flights, hotels, expensive dinners over the last 6 months, not work trips, not client dinners. This wasn't just a recent thing. This had been going on for a long, long time. The dates lined up perfectly with her excuses. The critical pitches, the sudden work deadlines, the anniversary weekend, my Pop's funeral. It wasn't just an affair. It was a calculated, prolonged deception. The realization was another blow, deeper and colder than the first. It wasn't just that she was unhappy. It was that she had been actively living a double life, meticulously covering her tracks, while I was sitting here, trusting her, believing her, trying to understand her ambition. The shame, the stupidity I felt was almost unbearable. I stared at those statements, the damning evidence, and felt a new, colder kind of anger settle in my bones. It wasn't just sadness anymore. It was pure, unadulterated fury at the depth of the lie. So, where am I now? It's been almost 3 months since that morning. The house feels emptier, even with Penny by my side. The divorce proceedings are moving, slowly, painfully. The lawyer says it's pretty clear-cut with the evidence I found, but it's still going to take time. Amelia hasn't fought me on much. She just wants to be done. I think she just wants to move on with Greg, which is another bitter pill to swallow. I still live in the house, thank God, but it's draped in a kind of melancholy I can't quite shake. Every room holds a memory, good or bad, and it feels like I'm constantly walking through a museum of my shattered life. I'm not okay. Not by a long shot, but I'm not completely broken either. I'm starting to pick up the pieces slowly. I've leaned hard on Daniel and Chloe, and their unwavering support has been everything. I don't know what I would have done without them, honestly. They don't try to fix it, they just listen. And that's what I need. My work is still a struggle, but I'm showing up, putting in the hours. I've even started going to a therapist just to process all of this. It helps to have an impartial ear, someone to help me untangle the mess in my head. What I've learned, I guess, is that you can truly love someone with your whole heart, and still, they can hurt you beyond measure. And that the signs are almost always there, if you're willing to see them, to not rationalize them away because you want to believe in the person you love. My biggest mistake was probably not trusting my gut, not confronting things head on when they first felt off. I always wanted to be the understanding, supportive husband, and I let that blind me. I let her walk all over me, convincing myself it was love, or ambition, or just her. This whole thing has fundamentally shifted how I see relationships. I used to be so open, so trusting. Now, I feel a huge wall going up. The idea of ever trusting anyone like that again, of giving my whole self to someone, feels impossible, terrifying. I know I need to work on that, to not let Amelia's actions define my future. But it's going to be a long road. I see myself being much more cautious, much more guarded, maybe forever. To everyone here who's read this, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. I just needed to put it all out there to strangers who might understand. It helps in a weird way to just get it all out. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if I'll ever truly trust again. I don't know if I'll ever be able to look at this house and not feel her absence. I don't know if I'll ever really understand why she chose to do this, why she couldn't just talk to me. There are still so many open questions, so many pieces that don't quite fit. All I know is I'm still here. And I'm trying to figure out how to be okay